Watch your rolling.
Okay, welcome to another edition of What I Wish I Knew Before I Taught a Particular Great Book. We're going to talk this morning about Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. And I know, and you know, that this wasn't written in ancient times, but in our curriculum it falls in ancient times because it's this great opportunity, number one, to talk about a real historical figure, Julius Caesar, the real philosophies that impacted this real impactful civilization, the civilization of Rome, and it's another chance to get to read Shakespeare in the curriculum, and you can't overlook that. That's always a good thing. So I think it's real obvious why we're tackling Julius Caesar, and we'll talk now about what I wish I knew before I taught the play, Julius Caesar, by William Shakespeare. Number one, you probably already know this. Caesar lives in the century immediately before Christ, so we can locate him in history very easily. This is long before the fall of Rome. In fact, some would say this is Rome reaching the height of its power. And the thing to know about the Roman people going into this play is that they hate the idea of a king. They are terrified of a ruler deciding that they are emperor, deciding that they are king, and they want nothing to do with it. And so, of course, that's the tension in real life, too, with Julius Caesar. Will Caesar put on the crown? And in Shakespeare, of course, you get this great visual of will Caesar put on the crown, or will he refuse it? And early on in his career, he does refuse the crown. He seems to be a man that the Roman people can embrace as their leader, but as you know, there's a conspiracy to assassinate him. It's led by two men, Brutus and Cassius, and we're going to meet both of them in Shakespeare's play as well. And they're going to model some things, especially Brutus is going to model some things about Rome that your students need to be aware of. And it's also going to give us a chance to consider one of the greatest rhetorical moments really in history. It's imagined by Shakespeare. It's not exactly what happened in history, but Mark Antony's refutation of Brutus's justification for killing Julius Caesar is really an amazing moment in literature and in the play. So that's what we'll talk about next. You've got the rough outline in history. Brutus and Cassius are supposedly worried that Caesar will take the crown next time, and they believe that's bad for Rome, and so they engage in this plot to assassinate him. And then you get this great scene in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar where Brutus justifies himself to the mob after having killed Caesar, and then makes the mistake of leaving and letting Mark Antony respond to him and stir up the mob. And it's just this fantastic rhetorical moment because Mark Antony steps up to the stage with this idea in mind of we're here to bury Caesar. This is not going to be a condemnation of Brutus or Cassius or anything like that. But then the whole thrust of the speech is a condemnation of this act of assassination. So without going deeply into it, you'll see the brilliance of this speech. One thing that Mark Antony does is he constantly echoes one particular concept. Brutus is an honorable man. And it's fantastic because the first time you hear it, you think, okay, we're all agreed that Brutus is an honorable man. But then you start to hear it in terms of, well, it's always Brutus that tells us Brutus is an honorable man. And the more it echoes throughout Mark Antony's speech, the more ironic it becomes. The more you recognize Brutus considers himself to be this way, but maybe we shouldn't. And Mark Antony has two rhetorical flourishes that are wonderful that need to be talked about too. Number one, he asked the mob to draw close to Caesar's murdered body. So this presentation, this talk is happening right in front of the assassinated corpse of Caesar, and he kind of forces the crowd to draw near and confront the horror of what Brutus and Cassius have done. And then the second thing that he does that is so smart rhetorically, and anyone who does public speaking for a living knows is brilliant, he descends from the stage and he walks among the masses. He puts himself on their level and he addresses them as one of them. So there's all these great rhetorical flourishes. You're going to love the play Julius Caesar just for that speech by Mark Antony, but you need to be aware of a couple of other things too. Number one, throughout this play, Brutus is a good Stoic. And as you probably know, Stoicism is this philosophy that is embraced pretty wholeheartedly in Rome at this point. It's the idea that a man must not flinch at his destiny, that the worst thing you can do is let your emotions override your reasonable response to what is happening to you. The Stoic knows that they don't always control their own fate. They know that sometimes natural law will just arrange a destiny for them that's not wonderful. And when that happens, you need to bear that destiny like a man. So Brutus is a real type of the Stoic philosophy throughout this play. His wife is even a better picture of it. His wife, Portia, literally stabs herself in the leg with a knife at one point to show her husband, I don't flinch. When the bad things happen, there you go. I don't flinch. It's all fine. So this real direct presentation of Stoicism comes out in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. And then the last thing, and this needs to be said too, is Brutus's reasons for killing Julius Caesar. Number one, he says that it's going to be bad if Caesar ever takes the crown. But his defense is it's going to be bad for the country. It's not about being bad for him or a particular subset of individuals. Brutus's appeal is to utilitarianism. And that's what I want to take just a second to talk about. There's this utilitarian, well, let's put it in its place. There are a couple approaches to ethics. One approach to ethics is pragmatism, and pragmatism is this idea that the ends justify the means. This is made famous by Machiavelli in The Prince. As Christians, we recognize the ends don't always justify the means, but there is a whole group of people who believe that pragmatism is the best measure for morality. A subset of pragmatism is utilitarianism, and utilitarianism says that you can know what's right by measuring the greatest good for the greatest number. And this is exactly the appeal that Brutus makes. He says, if it be aught toward the general good, and then later on he says, I know no personal cause to spurn at him, meaning Caesar, but for the general. So Brutus's appeal, his moral defense for what he's done to Caesar, is that this will result in the greatest good for the greatest number. And this is the thing that Christians always say about utilitarianism, is that it tramples over individuals. Oh, Julius Caesar has to die for the good of all? Well, then Julius Caesar must die. And as Christians, we can never take that stance, starting with Genesis 1:27 and the idea that all men, all women are made in the image of God. We never get to treat an individual as disposable for the sake of the greater good. This is just something that follows from the Christian concept of imago Dei. So you get a really good picture in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar of what it looks like to act based on the principles you find in utilitarian ethics. And Brutus's actions are eventually condemned by the playwright. Brutus does, well, I won't ruin the ending for you. Enjoy reading Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare.